Just now on the government trip to China, and Keir Starmer, who is on his second full day of that trip. We can now talk to Chris Bryant, who's Trade Minister, and he joins me now. Very good morning to you. Thanks so much for talking to us. So, as we say, the second full day of the Prime Minister's trip to China, and he said that the UK's relationship with China is in a good, strong place. So what do you make, then, of Donald Trump's comments overnight when he said that it was very dangerous for the UK to deal with China?
Well, he also said that President Xi is a friend of his and that he's going to visit him in April. I sort of agree that, of course, you have to go into your relationship with China with your eyes wide open. You have to challenge China on the issues where we disagree with them, but you have to face the fact that China is a major power in the world. It's the second largest economy in the world, and it's our fourth largest export market. So it will be absolutely bonkers of the UK not to engage with China. I think it's really important that Keir Starmer's been out there. And frankly, over the last few weeks, I think Keir Starmer has played a blinder, showing that the UK has to drive its own course, whether it's over Greenland or it's in our relationship with the US or the EU, or in this case, in relation to China. And for years and years and years, I've been sick and tired of the kind of flip-flop in our relationship with China. 1 minute, the Tories were sort of entering into what they called was the golden age with China. And then 10 minutes later, they initiated the ice age with China. What you need to do is be absolutely clear-sighted about where we disagree with China, being able to raise those issues robustly but respectfully, and in those areas where we can cooperate and where we can drive forward increased trade, then we need to get those benefits. And that's why I think Keir's done really well. We've got a really good deal on security. So one of the things that has irritated a lot of my constituents over the years is the small boats. 60% of those boats have got motors that were made in China. This isn't going to be the single thing that will solve this issue, but the security deal that we struck with China to try and sort that is, I think, an important part of the deal.
OK, and let me look at some of the other parts of the deal that have been announced so far. We've got this visa-free travel deal, lower whisky tariffs, and also a big investment by AstraZeneca into China. But it's not a lot. It's not a big trade deal. Is it worth it, given all the criticism around this visit?
As I say, it's about having our eyes wide open about one of the biggest international trading partners that we have in the world. I would say that the deal on Scotch whisky is a good one. People weren't expecting we'd be able to get it over the line. Keir Starmer has. That's worth £250 million, roughly, over the next few years for Scotch whisky. And that, incidentally, of course, is on top of the deal we've done in India, which has seen tariffs cut from 150% to 75%, and the deal we did with Argentina, which means we've got Scotch whisky, geographical identification in Argentina. These are the kind of issues that we're driving up in our trade negotiations all around the world. And I would say, actually, that you're somewhat underestimating the potential value of the deal that we struck in relation to services trade. You will know that often we talk about goods like whiskey and shortbread and things like that, but actually for the UK, services trade is often even bigger in countries. And lots of businesses have said to us that they'd love to be able to do more business in China, but there are difficulties about doing that. That's why we've launched a process which will take a few months to look at how we can increase our services trade with China. I think that will end up being worth billions and billions of pounds. OK,
that is just at this stage just launching that process, isn't it? But I also want to ask you about comments made by the Prime Minister's official spokesman indicating that President Xi would be welcome in the UK. Can you confirm that? Would President Xi be welcome for a visit to the UK?
Well, the visit of a president is normally a matter for the palace as well as for the government. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's not for me to be issuing invitations. But obviously, President Xi came to the UK in, I think it was 2018. I think Theresa May was the Prime Minister who invited him then for a state visit. But look, we just need to have
OK, can I just get your view on it? Sorry, but do you think it would be appropriate, given that Beijing has sanctioned 5 MPs, I think it is, 2 members of the House of Lords? There have been allegations just this week about spying at the heart of Westminster. Do you personally think it would be appropriate?
It's lovely to try and catch me on the hook of trying to give a personal view, but I'm a government minister when I'm sitting here, and I have to make sure that we are driving forward our relationship with China with our eyes wide open. Of course, we take all those issues that you've just raised extremely seriously. And I'm sure that they would factor into any discussions that there would be about any potential visit. But honestly, that is so far above my pay grade that I am not going to tread there. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. Maybe you may have the same answer to this question. Then I do want to ask you also about the EU prescribing the IRGC in Iran as a terrorist organisation. There are reports this morning that the UK will follow suit. Can you confirm that for us?
I can't. As you will know, the government, successive governments, Conservative under various different versions and Labour governments have never commented on whether they're going to prescribe something in advance of doing so, and I'm not going to do so here today. The one thing I can say, though, is that we recently looked at whether we have the right legislation to be able to tackle the issue in relation to Iran. Of course, this is a body that only exists in Iran, not in the UK. And the recent review suggested that there was a legal problem, which we will have to sort out. But look, let me be absolutely clear, first and foremost, that Iran's treatment of the protesters is despicable and appalling. Hamish Faulkner, who's the minister for the Middle East, brought the Iranian ambassador in to give them an official complaint about the murder of so many thousands of protesters in Iran. It just shows what a brutal regime it is. But also, of course, we've been trying for many years now to make sure that Iran does not proceed towards having its own nuclear weapon. And we want Iran to come to the table for proper negotiations to get back to a safe and secure Middle East.
Finally, just a quick word on the issue of the cancelled local elections. Reports this morning that a number of councillors are saying that they're going to stand down in revolt over the fact that these elections have been postponed. They want their resignations to force by-elections for their posts on May the 7th. What do you make of those reports?
I don't think voters like unnecessary elections very much. And look, the reason this is happening is because there are lots of parts. This doesn't happen, actually, incidentally, in Wales, where we only have unitary authorities. We don't have district councils and county councils. We just have unitary authorities in Wales, which I think is far more sensible. We're moving towards that system in England, and it's going a bit patchwork. Some parts of England have unitary authorities, others don't. And I mean, it's simply illogical, it would seem to me, to pursue having elections for people who will only be in post for another year. It just seems an unnecessary cost in local authorities. And that's why we've moved to postponing the elections until the new local authorities are created. I think in the end, it would be far more sensible. I mean, why on earth would you have a director of finance for your local district council and a director of finance for your county council? This is going to be a much more rational system, which will save money and end up delivering better local services for people in England. I think creating unnecessary elections is a bit daft, and when it's happened in the past, voters haven't cared for it very much.
OK, well, we'll see what happens with those councillors as the.
Can I just say one other thing, incidentally?
Yeah, go on.
Just one other. I was in Kyiv in Ukraine a couple of weeks ago. It was phenomenally cold, and one of the things that really broke my heart was there were air raid warnings every night because the Russians are trying to bomb the Ukrainians into freezing to death. And I've been really grateful. So many companies have come forward with offers of emergency generators to be able to help the people in Ukraine. I'm enormously grateful to those companies. Thank you very much.
OK, Chris Bryant, we appreciate you saying that. Thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.